Okay, we're going to continue the lecture. We're going to be talking about charge particle interactions, continuing the slide set from last week. This is mostly going to be about electrons, which we use for X-ray production and treating patients, but a lot of what I'm going to be saying applies to protons too, so it's a bit of both. So interactions of particulate radiation with matter, that's what we're going to talk about here. It's basically charged particles. That I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to talk about something called the continuous slowing down approximation, how ionization becomes dose, and touch on high and low linear energy transfer and radiobiological effectiveness. Okay, charged particles. These are things like electrons, positrons, protons. They have a charge. It's positive or negative. They have a magnetic dipole, which doesn't come into play too much for what we're going to be talking about. And they have a mass. So the two most important things for us are they have a mass and they have a plus or negative charge to them. Here are some different charged particles that we use in medical physics. Certainly we use electrons. The positron we talked about with in X-ray interactions. Protons are used for proton therapy. They're also in the nucleus of the atom. One thing to note is that the mass of the proton is about 2,000 times that of the electron. Alpha particles are important in radiation safety. Some things like radon give off alpha particles when they decay. And some centers are talking about doing carbon ion therapy. So carbon would have a +6 charge on it and an enormous mass. So what can happen is when this, let's say like we have an electron coming in, it's going to interact with this atom. It's going to hit one of these electrons, and it can certainly, this electron can get excited, and it can jump to, from a lower energy state to a higher one and do some excitation. When this particle comes in and interacts with this electron and kicks it out, we call this ionization. And in this diagram, I should probably show 2 electrons going away here instead of just 1. Ionization happens when there's a free electron has sufficient energy. This free electron coming in here has sufficient energy to completely remove an electron from the atomic shell. So it's going to kick this electron out. The incident energy has to be greater than the binding energy of the electron that's stuck onto the atom. And the energy of the ejected electron is the incident energy minus the binding energy. And one of the important things here is that this electron is going to fly away. It's going to contribute dose, and also this entire atom is going to be positively charged when it gets done. So following the ionization, this results in components that are ejected. The ejected electron and the positron positive ion of the atom, and this is called the ion pair. So one part is the electron and one part is the atom that's left behind that's positively charged. So those two are a pair that contribute to ionization. And we say in dry air, the average energy required to produce an ion pair is about 33.97 electron volts. That's important for radiation dosimetry and things like that. And the specific ionization is the number of primary and secondary ion pairs produced per unit path length of an incident electron. So when these electrons come in, 2 things can happen. So certainly we just talked about ionization. So the ion can come in, has an atomic interaction, the energy gets converted to the electron, and there's radiative loss. So you can have ionization, or you can have X-rays produced. So instead of this electron coming in interacting with an atom, it can come in and interact with this entire nucleus. So this nucleus is positively charged. This electron comes in and it bends around this nucleus. It kind of orbits it. And this is like a nuclear interaction. It's just kind of curving around it. And anytime a charged particle changes direction, it's said to be accelerating, and anytime you accelerate a charged particle, like you make it go faster or slower, or I should say when you make it go from faster to slower, it is going to give off some X-rays, and these X-rays are called Bremsstrahlung, which is German word for breaking energy. So when this electron comes in, it has a certain velocity with it, It's going to curve around this. It's going to give up some of its energy. It's going to slow down a little bit. So its energy is going to go down. And then see here I drew an X-ray in. So here's an X-ray coming off, giving off. And this is basically how we make X-rays using linear accelerators. So just get back to specific ionization. Specific ionization is portable or proportional to the square of the charge divided by the square of the velocity of the particle. So the important thing here is that it goes towards how fast the particle is going and not how much energy it has. So as charged particles slow down, the rate of energy loss increases. As its velocity goes down, the specific ionization goes up. It peaks near the end of the particle range called the Bragg peak. So in this example, I have a 7.7 megaelectron volt alpha particle. It's plowing into some air here. So as this alpha particle comes into this air chamber, it's going to be doing ionization. And you can start off here, it's doing about some certain level, and the ionization is kind of constant until it gets near the end, and then it spikes up and drops off very quickly. For our use, because electrons have small mass, they undergo multiple scattering in the tissue. As a result, we don't see this Bragg peak. So this alpha particle, which is heavy, it's kind of like a Mack truck plowing through the air. It just keeps going in the same direction, producing ionization the whole way, and then it peaks up and goes down. Whereas if we had a beam of electron beams, they're kind of like more like scooters on the highway. They'll get banged around quite a bit and produce a bunch of ionization as they go along. Here's a nice big complex equation that is used to describe ionization. This is called the continuous slowing down approximation. It's when an electron comes in. Here I've drawn it correctly. Electron comes in, ionizes, and causes some type of ionization here. And just to get back to the path length, so if we have like an alpha particle, which is a helium atom with no electrons on it, it's going to plow forward. It's going to do a whole bunch of ionization. It's going to go in a straight line. As it goes along, it's going to contribute dose, and it's going to produce this type of percent depth dose. It's going to plow straight into something, and then it's going to get a really nice strong Bragg peak and then simply stop. And you can see the way I've drawn it here, the amount of pluses and minuses, the ion pairs that are produced along here get more frequent as it gets near the end of range. So as it gets near the end, it does more and more ionization and more dose. Whereas with an electron, it's supposed to be an electron here with a little minus, it's going to get bounced around. So it's not going in a straight line. It's pinging off of all these different atoms that it's plowing into, and it's eventually going to get stopped. So when you overlap a whole bunch of these interactions together, you get something that looks like an electron beam and curves out and stops. So it really goes towards a smaller mass, because electrons have a small mass, much less than that of atoms or the nucleus of the atom. The electron is going to get banged around quite a bit, and the other particles like protons or alpha particles or carbon atoms are just going to plow straight in, Bragg peak, and stop. And this gets into, sometimes we use these terms direct versus indirect ionization. In indirect ionization, this is interaction of charged particles with matter. So charged particles do direct ionization. The charged particles deliver their energy directly to matter through a series of many Coulomb interactions along its path length. So you can imagine the electron has a charge on it, and as we know, anytime something has a charge on it, it's going to be attracted to something of the opposite charge. So these electrons, as they stream in, they're going to interact with these positively charged nuclei or these other electrons all along the way. They're going to go through, bounce off of all these things. They're going to Bremster along around the nucleus, and they're going to do all kinds of interactions all along the way. We contrast that with what we call indirect ionization. So this is an interaction of uncharged particles, X-rays, gamma rays, or neutrons with matter. An X-ray will come in and it may do something like a photoelectric effect or a Compton, and it ionize a single atom, but it only ionizes that one. It's the subsequent charged particles that come out of that X-ray interaction that do direct ionization and contribute most of the dose inside the patient. So these uncharged particles first have to transfer their energy to a charged particle in matter in a relatively few large amount of interactions. So the difference being an electron or a proton or something that's charged will, let's say, interact with the patient. It'll immediately start interacting. It'll produce ion pairs during its entire path length through the patient and eventually stop, producing all kinds of dose and things like that. Whereas an X-ray will come in, and instead of doing most of the dose itself, it does most of it through indirect action. So the X-ray will come in, it'll collide with the patient, it'll kick an electron off of an atom, and then that electron goes through, does direct ionization, and contributes most of the dose. This is like a jargony term that we use in medical physics that you're going to have to know.